In case anybody isn't aware of what's going on, within the past couple of weeks, two different people, both under the age of 18, have recently come forward saying that they had inappropriate messages with me on social media.
Oh, come on, James. Come on, man. I think we all know what the real issue is here. Is look at the state of it. I can see the marks right there. It's musty. I can smell it. And it's very clear what you've been doing. You've been mixing the colours with the whites. It's a rookie error. I understand that. But then again, rookies are nothing new to you, are they, mate?
I'm not a very good imposter. Oh no. Oh no. Oh no.
James Charles. Before we go anywhere, I do just want to say, as a influencer, and yes, that word does make me feel extremely ill, I don't understand how you can have millions of dollars, so much money, and so many followers, 25 million to be precise, probably 24 sometime soon, but yeah, 25 right now. I don't understand how you can have that level of success and throw it all away for something so easily avoidable, especially after 2019 when you've avoided such a massive scandal and basically been victorious. Why can influencers just not message underage people? I know it sounds incredibly simple. Crimes just go down by me saying that, but yeah, it sounds simple. Yet for these influencers, it's so incredibly difficult, and I just want to know why. Now, if you don't know what's going on here, once again, James Charles recently was found in another scandal for the, I don't know, 90 millionth time. But in this case, it's genuinely extremely serious. So I do want to put a warning before we go ahead with this video, because I am going to be speaking about extremely sensitive issues. And I just want to say, if you don't want to hear about these things, please click off the video now or just skip throughout this video. Basically, James Charles was once again accused of grooming / predatorial behaviour, and now this isn't the first time, this isn't the second time or the third time, it seems like it's the 9,000th time. I swear, I can come on Twitter once a week and there'll be a brand new scandal about some 17 or 16-year-old boy stating that he spoke to James Charles on Snapchat. It's becoming an extremely recurring pattern, and I don't even know if that phrase makes sense. It just seems to never end, but the thing is, in this situation, it's different. It's not a no more lies situation. It's very much the case of Jimbo has actually admitted to it.
In case anybody isn't aware of what's going on, within the past couple of weeks, two different people, both under the age of 18, have recently come forward saying that they had inappropriate messages with me on social media. One of them being from last year and one of them being from more recent. In both of these cases, I added these people on Snapchat, asked how old they were right away, was told that they were 18, believed them, engaged in a flirty conversation, and then later on found out that they were actually 16. Upon finding out, I was immediately embarrassed and blocked both people. Later on, when I saw them making videos about it and those videos going viral, my immediate reaction, completely honestly, was to be really, really upset. I wanted to get on camera and film another No More Lies video where I gather all my receipts and all my screenshots and try to tell my side of the story and then just move on from the situation. And now, looking back, that was so stupid.
No, James, that wouldn't be stupid. If you actually had receipts and evidence to prove that these things were lies, that would actually be a really good thing, because I don't think anybody wants these things to be real. But the fact of the matter is, buddy, you literally just admitted that these things happened.
And later on, found out that they were actually 16.
I believe it's time that Joe Biden stops walking the halls of the White House and actually writes up a law of banning Snapchat from influencers. If he did that, he'd win my vote in 2024, even though I'm not American. But nevertheless, some president needs to make that their mandate, that they will ban influencers from using Snapchat. Now, I may be making jokes about this, and that is mainly just to cope with such a serious topic and how it very much makes me uncomfortable. But yes, James Charles has been caught out committing a very serious crime, which he could, in fact, go to jail for. He's losing lots of followers and lots of subscribers, and people are extremely upset with him. Brands are leaving, and it does seem like, once again, it is the beginning of the end for James Charles. But before we go into any of the lies, deception, and manipulation of James Charles, and just the general, typical responses that YouTubers make in their apologies, we need to go back to 2019.
We're sending you back to the future!
Hey you guys, welcome to today's video. Obviously from the title you know that this is going to be intense, different, and This is absolutely not a video I ever thought in a million years that I would be making.
Sure, Jan.
Yes, to cut a long story short, in 2019, James Charles was accused of multiple things by Tati Westbrook, which turned out was pretty much being fueled by Jeffree Star and Shane Dawson, following other allegations from a guy called Gage. Now, it turned out a lot of these allegations were either not true whatsoever, or they were just grossly exaggerated, and the situation also did spout up a lot of homophobia. Now, that's not a disguise or a defense of James's actions, but I think before we go into any of this, we do just have to say, hey, if you see James Charles's terrible actions and the crimes he's committed, that doesn't justify your homophobia. Like, if any of you are seeing this and thinking, oh yeah, now I can do this to James. No, because homophobia, if any, like, attack on an oppressed group of people, on one of them, that's an attack on every single person. So if you're homophobic towards James Charles, you're being homophobic towards all gay people, because your beliefs are clearly not just about one guy, they're about his sexuality, and his sexuality isn't relative to this argument. So I just want to say that, because anytime these situations happen with an LGBT person, it always seems to spout up a very strange amount of homophobia, and I'm not sure why, because James Charles' sexuality has absolutely nothing to do with this. But yeah, getting away from my random rant there, it turned out most of these things in 2019, as I said, were grossly exaggerated and more of a business move involving vitamins, and also eventually Shane Dawson cracked and he basically stated that Jeffree Star was indeed happy that a competitor was going to fail rather than a victim was going to potentially get justice, and that was the words of Shane Dawson. But moving back to the future, no pun intended, with these allegations, they are completely different. He has been caught messaging minors, and his only excuse throughout this whole thing is that he didn't do the research and that he was desperate. And we will get into this response and how awful it is. This is on the top 10 worst responses of all time. But I did just want to say, the reason I haven't spoken about this much recently was mainly because I was waiting for more to come out. In 2019, I very much jumped on the Tati Westbrook response or video, and that was wrong with me, and I have apologized for that in the past, and I stand by that. It was extremely immoral and immature of me. So like the David Dobrik situation, I have stayed and waited for something to happen or some new information to come out to prove that these things were all lies. But no, most of it, if not 99% of it, seems to be true.
These conversations should have never happened, point blank period. There's no excuse for it, there's no ifs, ands, or buts, and I take full responsibility for that. I trusted the information that was given to me rather than the information I could have and should have gotten myself. In both of these situations, doing research into these people's public social media profiles would have revealed their true ages, and therefore these conversations would have never happened in the first place, but I didn't do the research, and that is what is so embarrassing. As an adult, it is my job and my responsibility to verify who I'm talking to, and therefore there is no one to blame for this other than myself.
So one of the people that James Charles was caught messaging was indeed a 16-year-old TikTok star. He added him on Snapchat and had quote-unquote flirtatious conversations with him. Now, the extent of actually what was said in these conversations is not available, but it's clear, as James Charles stated, that these conversations were flirtatious and only give me the idea that there was some intent to push things further, or if anything, further things did happen. There was the accusations that these further things did happen, as you can see from these headlines here, but to be honest with you, I'm not exactly too sure, but nevertheless, both things are absolutely disgusting. And the TikToker clearly had their age, 16 years old, in their bio. So if some weird James Charles stans wanted to say, oh, well, we don't know his age, didn't know his age, even though that's an absolutely terrible excuse, you can't use that excuse in this situation. The guy had 16 in his bio. It clearly states it right there. And James said that he didn't do the research. I guess he meant that he didn't go to the profiles and clearly see that in their bio, they were 16 years old. And that is when I ask you guys the question of, do you guys genuinely believe that James Charles, somebody with 25 million subscribers on YouTube and many more on Instagram and Twitter and TikTok, did not go to a profile of somebody that he decided to engage in flirtatious conversations with and not just merely look at the front page of their profile? I don't know about you guys, but I usually check the profiles of people I message. And not out of oh, could I engage with a conversation with them flirtatiously? Just out of genuine curiosity. So I want you guys to comment yes if you think that James Charles knew his age and saw his age on his profile, and comment no if you genuinely don't believe that multi-millionaire James Charles didn't go and check out the TikToker's profile that he decided to message. And also, I also want you to please subscribe, because these videos do terribly in the algorithm. My channel's dead right now, so please could you subscribe? It would get this video out there. Thank you so much. But yeah, for me personally, I see this as the first lie in James Charles's response, because I simply, as an influencer, do not believe that James Charles did not either know this person as a TikToker or go to their profile. I don't know what the odds are for James Charles to engage in a flirtatious conversation with another famous TikToker without knowing they're a famous TikToker are. I think those odds would be extremely high, and I believe that to be a lie. And if you don't believe me, that's completely fair, because I have actually got some more evidence of James Charles lying about when he states in this apology that, you know, he likes to only date older men. He only goes for older men in relationships, and he's kind of struggling at that. He's probably struggling at that mainly because he is messaging minors.
I do understand that with these videos coming to light, it's really starting to, not even starting, it's really looking, period, like I'm actively searching for younger people to be in a relationship with. And I just want to say firsthand that that is absolutely not the case. My hope has always been to be in a relationship with somebody around my age or older that I can relate to and that can make me laugh. And unfortunately, I've not been able to find that person yet.
Yeah, because you keep messaging 16-year-olds, Jimbo. It's pretty simple maths. It's simple equations. You don't message a 16-year-old and bing bang bosh, you've got yourself a 24-year-old. It's not this difficult. I don't understand this. I really don't. It's almost like you're completely bullshitting.
My hope has always been to be in a relationship with somebody around my age or older.
Absolute bollocks. This is not true. And for reason number one, have you ever seen a conversation of James Charles exposed by some random 28-year-old man? It only seems to be a recurring pattern of young teenagers coming out and saying, oh, yeah, it was a little bit weird when James Charles DM'd me and tried to have flirtatious conversations with me. I only see that one. I do. But also, there is this.
Like, how is your love life?
Shit.
Yeah. Why?
Okay, so the thing is, for me, I'm 21, but like I said, I have the mentality of a 40-year-old.
Yeah.
So for me, like, I'm much more mentally and emotionally mature than a lot of people my age. I'm not physically attracted to older guys, which sucks. Like, I would date, like, the absolute youngest, like, 18, 19 that looks a little bit older, or, like, 24 that, like, has a young personality.
Okay.
No, I've seen a few people say, oh, well, he was only speaking about who he would ideally like to be with, and that's somebody who he hasn't found yet. But I don't understand that, because why would you ideally want to be with somebody who you aren't physically attracted to? That doesn't make sense given the context of everything James Charles has said, and also his engagement with consistent young people. So he clearly lied. He does have interest in younger guys, but also on this exact same podcast, around 4 minutes later to be precise, he gives his experiences of conversations with people where they are not willing to go see James, and James does seem extremely angry about that. It is slightly concerning, but the main concerning factor from this statement was the fact that he mentioned that, you know, these conversations could be involved with high schoolers.
This is a better example than just a dinner. Like, I've talked to guys that live in different states and stuff, and I'm like, hey, like, why don't you come visit? And like, well, I can't afford a plane ticket. Yep. And it's like, okay, well, I can. So like, get on the plane. And like, well, I just don't really feel comfortable with that. But like, I love you and I really want to be together. And I'm like, well, we can't be together because you can't afford a plane ticket. You're probably still in either high school or college, like a senior in high school or in college.
Now, without giving context, this could be perceived as a little bit of a nitpick, you know, because I understand that in the midst of conversations, we may mistake our words. We may say something we don't actually mean. And just in general muddle up words in conversation, and also in high school it is a case of it's between the ages in America, I believe, between 14 and 18 years old. So he could be speaking to an 18-year-old from high school, which would be perfectly legal, but it to me seems that every time James gets caught out, it's always a 16-year-old or a 17-year-old, and in this clip he acknowledges that he speaks to high schoolers, and then he quickly kind of recovers his conversation and tries to make it sound like they're senior high schoolers.
Because you can't afford a plane ticket, you're probably still in either high school or college, like a senior in high school or in college.
And as I said, I would usually hear that recovery of the words and think, oh, well, they didn't actually mean that. It was just like them accidentally saying something. It was just a little mistake. That happens in every single conversation. But there is this recurring pattern of James Charles speaking to high schoolers. It is a thing that keeps on happening. So I can only take these words from James Charles and apply them to given situations of him speaking to young high schoolers. I think it's extremely evident and clear that James Charles clearly has an interest in younger men. Now, obviously here on the Impulsive podcast, it could have possibly just been a slip-up where he mentioned high schoolers and, you know, a little accident, you know, a little accident of accidentally saying that you message younger people. But it was accidentally on the Logan Paul podcast. In this video, he admits to it.
In case anybody isn't aware of what's going on, within the past couple of weeks, two different people, both under the age of 18, have recently come forward saying that they had inappropriate messages with me on social media. One of them being from last year and one of them being from more recent. In both of these cases, I added these people on Snapchat, asked how old they were right away, was told that they were 18, believed them, engaged in a flirty conversation, and then later on found out that they were actually 16.
And it got 200,000 plus likes. So if somebody's saying, you're just jumping on a trend, yeah, just jumping on the James Charles bandwagon, no, I am actually a little concerned that this video right now, at the time of recording, has more likes than dislikes. A guy has just admitted to messaging 16-year-olds, and his defense was, I didn't know their age, despite their age was actually in their bio, and I didn't do the research. I don't know, I think it's a little bit concerning that 200,000 people liked this. For me, that's a little concerning, because it very much seems like he is bullshitting, and I think I am turning into the Joker.
I used to think that my life was a tragedy, but now I realize it's a comedy.
Now, I'm not going to show you every single accusation that has been made towards James Charles, mainly because they do make me incredibly uncomfortable, and people often ask, why do you make so many jokes in videos like this? It's because talking about things like this is uncomfortable, and I really want to present this information in a way where you guys can not only take in this information but not feel at ease, because I am fully aware that I have people who are survivors watching my videos. I want them to feel comfortable. I don't want them to have to go away because it's going to be some like deep, dark investigation. I want to, you know, comfort them, and that's why I'm not going to show all these conversations, but I am just going to give a warning now that I am going to actually play one of where you can see in 3, 2, 1 that James is clearly very angry about these people speaking out against him, about the fact that James is clearly speaking to an underage person and James is accusing them of lying about their age. So let's discuss the conversation of, does an influencer have the responsibility to get the identification of somebody's age if they have the intent to engage in a flirtatious conversation with them? For me personally, I believe this to be in most cases, based on social media, yes, but I understand it's also extremely subjective. For example, if you're replying to an Instagram DM and you start flirting with somebody who you don't exactly know and haven't met in person, I believe that you should indeed check their age. You're not in an environment where you're surrounded by 18-year-olds, like a club for example, where you get ID'd before you enter the club. You are in your Instagram DMs, and you should know that you have millions and millions of followers, so there are very good chances, well, they certainly 100% happen, where a child, a teenager below the age of 18 will DM you. So given the fact that that does happen, I think you have the responsibility to check somebody's proof of age before you engage in these conversations with them if you meet them over Instagram messages and haven't met them in person. But a situation where I think it can be a bit different is when you're in a club, for example, a privately owned club, not by yourself, not an organised party by other influencers, and you have to get ID'd at the door, and if somebody is below age, they have created a fake ID and come in, and you didn't know that. So I don't believe that's necessarily your responsibility to ID people in clubs, because they've already been ID'd to come in. In those situations, I can completely understand it. Now, some people may say, hey, this is a little bit crazy having to ID people before you engage in conversations with them. That's so much. That could be a strain on somebody's mental health. I understand that. But at the same time, you've got 25 million subs. You've got incredible amount of influence. You've got so much money. Is it really that much of a sacrifice to merely do a 5-second check on somebody's age? Does it necessarily affect you that much in any way? I personally don't believe so. And I'm pretty sure in every single situation where James has been exposed, they appear to be social media based. What do you expect me to take from this? You have a responsibility. Yes, it might be awkward, but at the end of the day, with somebody in such a position of power, I believe that you should at least just do a 5-second check. Yes, it is a little bit awkward to say, hey, can I see your driver's license or passport? But at least you're not going to end up being a nonce.
I was being reckless, and after looking back and finally realizing that this was my own fault, I started doing a lot of thinking and reflecting to really try and figure out why I was actually allowing myself to be so reckless in the first place. In all other areas of my life, my friends, my business, I like to think of myself as pretty put together and on top of things, and I couldn't understand why relationships were the one outlier. Why were they not working? Why was this area of me so different? And I finally came to a conclusion. It sucks and it is ridiculously embarrassing to admit this, but I think I have to, and that is that I'm desperate.
This is the most bullshit response I have ever seen. You have 25.8 million followers. Probably going to be 24 million soon, but alas, 25 million. So, I think with somebody in such a position of power, which I've said like 4 times, you cannot just say, I am desperate in a way to get out of a situation where you have committed such a serious offence. If an adult sends a lewd message to a minor, it is a violation of California Penal Code 288.2 PC, all harmful message sent with intent to seduce a minor. In my opinion, isn't that what a flirtatious conversation is? I mean, if you've got those intents there with the flirting, I believe you should probably be abiding by the law. Now, if you were wondering, yes, YouTube have acknowledged this situation, and yes, he has been dropped by YouTube and by plenty of other brands out there. Now, a lot of people like to say going after somebody's brands is a bad thing. And in situations where it's just stupid drama, completely agree with you, right? If 2 YouTubers are hating on each other and they go after each other's brands, I don't understand that. But in this situation, I think it is only fair. Like, given the fact of what he has done, I think it's only fair that he is losing these things, because he hasn't gone to jail. He's still at a massive place of privilege. He is still a millionaire. So James's earnings going down a little bit, that doesn't affect me. I don't care. Now, James did eventually go on to speak about power imbalances, and it was a bit of an interesting take.
When these videos started to come to light, power imbalance became a really large topic of conversation on social media, and rightfully so. In 2019, when I had my whole situation, I was accused of abusing my fame, money, and power to get what I wanted. And when I responded to that at the time, I said that that was disgusting and that I would never want to do that. And to this day, I still stand behind that sentiment 1000%. So when it was getting brought up again, I got really frustrated and was trying to understand, because I was thinking to myself, like, okay, I know that this situation shouldn't have happened. I know that this conversation shouldn't have occurred. I take responsibility for that. But at the same time, like, they DM'd you first. They lied to you. They flirted first. Like, you didn't use your fame, money, and power to get anything. But I've now realized that that mentality is completely wrong, because a power imbalance can happen even when it's not intentional. What I wasn't getting before is that the excitement that comes with talking to a celebrity is literally enough to make somebody do or say something that they normally wouldn't, even if that celebrity isn't intentionally weaponizing their fame, money, or power. And that's the concept that I just wasn't getting, but I now do.
This is smart, because right here, James is speaking about himself just without saying his name. He is convincing his audience that he didn't do anything intentional here without actually saying his own name. He's placing this in their mind.
Even if that celebrity isn't intentionally weaponizing their fame, money, or power.
By James saying that celebrities don't intentionally do these things, don't intentionally break the law, his audience are going to take that and just put that on this situation which James is currently in, because he's not saying his name, because if James says, I didn't intentionally do this, then people will hear that and immediately know that he is just trying to defend himself. But by doing it like sneakily, he is actually planting this into his audience's mind, and they're going to start to think, well, if celebrities didn't intentionally message minors, then James didn't intentionally message minors. It's manipulative, it's deceitful, and I do not understand how people are eating this shit up. And it does move us on to the conversation of how celebrities manage to get away with these things.
Flashback Mary.
Now, it always comes down to a response video, an apology video, because a lot of people on your YouTube channel or your main platform aren't necessarily going to know about every single scandal that you're involved in, because your audience, for the most part, don't pay attention to the outside things. They don't pay attention to the YouTube drama. It's only a very minute amount of people that pay attention to my channel, T-Spill's channel. So by putting out a good response, a manipulative response, you are going to convince the people that don't know anything about this situation that you are in the right. And this all starts, in James Charles's case, with the tone of the voice.
Hello everyone, James Charles here, and today I'm going to be making a very important video about a very
Turn up the volume! I can't hear you! And this is exactly it. By speaking like, oh hey guys, hey, I might have messaged a 16-year-old but I didn't intentionally do. By doing that, your audience is going to think, oh wow, he's really upset by this. Oh poor Jimbo. I feel really bad for him now. And then it comes to the whole wording of, oh, I'm holding myself accountable. This is me owning up to my own mistakes. No, Chieftain Beefton, this is you desperately responding to getting called out for messaging 16-year-olds and the brand seeing it and you losing millions of dollars. That is what this is. You're not holding yourself accountable. David Dobrik did this in his response as well. It's not holding myself accountable. No, you've already been held accountable. And the verdict is out, my friend. And yes, you may have 249,000 likes on this, but if they find out from my videos and from other people's videos what the real situation is, I feel like the money is going to continue to go down, and I think you know that. You're not holding yourself accountable, you are just doing damage control. And now again with the wording of, oh, celebrities don't actually have the intentions there.
Even if that celebrity isn't intentionally weaponizing their fame, money, or power.
It's manipulation on another scale. I mentioned this in Dom's apology video from around 2017 of where he was accused of assaulting women. In that apology, he basically does admit to what he was accused of, but he words it nicely, you know? And in this, James Charles has basically admitted to it, but he's wording it very nicely. Oh, I was desperate. Oh, celebrities don't intentionally do this. And by doing that, he manipulates his little fans with 3 brain cells, the remaining ones. If you're gone now, you're a smart boy, subscribe. But the remaining ones, he's going to convince them by playing off this soft, nice persona. The reality is, James, you've been caught multiple times at this point. This isn't something new. I have defended you. I have admitted in the past to being wrong about you, and I also think that situation was kind of born out of things which weren't there with good intent. I think a lot of it was a business move, which was self-admitted by Shane Dawson, and that situation has no relevance to this. This is you being caught out for the 9 millionth time in the last year alone. I don't understand how after 2019 you really had the balls and the ego to proceed with messaging random teenagers. I just don't get it. I really don't. Especially somebody who has everything in their hands. I'm just incredibly confused and disappointed. Influencers, if you're watching this, just get proof of identification. It's a little awkward, sure, but dude, we make money on this thing. We make money by uploading videos. I really think that the self-sacrifice of 5 seconds to pull out somebody's passport is really not that bad, given all the benefits. I think the benefits, you know, outweigh the downs. But then again, you have to ask yourself this question, which we're going to end this video on, of do these people actually care about these people's ages? Is this a thing of, did James Charles just genuinely not know and it was his own fault for not doing the research, or did he see the age and he just chose to ignore it? That's where we're going to end this video. I would love to know your opinions on this. Overall, I think even if that was the case, if James genuinely didn't know their age, it's incredibly irresponsible what he's done. There are no excuses here on either side. If he knew the age, if he didn't know the age, you as a creator, as a celebrity, it's not like you've got a few 100,000 subs. You are a class... not class A, but a C-class celebrity, my friend. So, I think you've got the responsibility to check on these things. But alas, that is the end of the video. Thank you so much for coming along. I appreciate all of you. I hope this video was a comfortable watch because I understand it's a very touchy subject. So yeah, I'd appreciate it if you dropped a like on this video, subscribe, because these videos do absolutely terrible in the algorithm. And also, my channel is dead right now. I took a month off. Bad decision. But yes, we'll do some funny video on Wednesday, maybe. We'll see. But thank you very much for coming along. I really hope you've enjoyed this video. Comment your opinions below. Let's get this video to 30,000 likes. Share this video. Get it out there, because there are 249,000 people that are still on the side of James Charles, and we need to get this true story out there to change the brainless people's minds. But alas, take it easy, people. Peace out. I was going to shout, but I'm not. Bye-bye.
So close. 727! 727! What do you see it?